100 Years of Solitude Season 1 ends on an ambiguous note, paving the way for a full-fledged Season 2 that would adapt the remaining chapters of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's novel. Directed by Alex Garcia Lopez and Laura Mora, Netflix's 100 Years of Solitude seems to achieve the impossible by adapting a book considered inadaptable for decades. While book adaptations can often leave viewers dissatisfied with their creative liberties and source material deviations, Netflix's take on Gabriel Garcia Marquez's novel has been received well by both viewers and critics. The show boasts an impressive Rotten Tomatoes score of 94% after its Season 1 premiere. Owing to this, it is not surprising that Netflix ordered 16 episodes of the show, and its second installment is already underway. Like 100 Years of Solitude Season 1, even Season 2 will likely introduce some narrative changes to the original book. However, since the show stays true to the essence of the novel, one can predict what could happen in Season 2 based on the story developments in the source material. Aureliano and the rebels establish control over Macondo. They also do not spare Jose Raquel Moncada. Towards the ending moments of 100 Years of Solitude Season 1, Aureliano grows increasingly resentful, hoping to reclaim Macondo for good. While Ursula fears for his safety, Aureliano plans his next attack on the town. In the end, the fictitious town of Macondo from 100 Years of Solitude prepares for war as Aureliano and the rebels head toward it. In the original book, Aureliano's undying efforts to gain control over Macondo do not go in vain. After years of battle, he not only survives many attempts on his life but also manages to finally win the war. As a result, he and the rebels depose Jose Raquel Moncada and return the land he stole from the locals. They also replace the laws set by the conservatives and execute Moncada. Ursula tries to stop Aureliano from going down the tyrannical route. However, he remains too consumed by his hubris to look back and change his ways before it is too late. Aureliano eventually grows tired of the war. He agrees to sign a peace treaty. Claudio Cattaneo as Colonel Aureliano Buendia in 100 Years of Solitude. Aureliano, too, reaches his breaking point after fighting the war against the conservatives for years. Therefore, he eventually decides to take a step back and sign a peace treaty with the opposition. With what follows, he settles for a more peaceful life when he returns to Macondo and spends the rest of his days in his workshop making goldfish. This marks the end of his story in the overarching narrative, as the subsequent chapters in the book focus on the other surviving members of the Buendia family. Macondo attracts new technology and foreign settlers. The town experiences a phase of prosperity. Jose Arcadio Buendia, an imagery of Macondo custom image by Ana Nieves. Macondo experiences new progress with the arrival of the railroad. Rail transport not only makes travel and transport easier but also brings new foreign settlers to the town, including an American plantation company. As the plantation company grows from strength to strength, it builds its own village across the river and even establishes a full-fledged banana plantation on the town's outskirts. The growth of the company business benefits the town in more ways than one, allowing it to progress in a positive direction. Unfortunately, this progress is short-lived. The Colombian army attacks the plantation workers. The attack alludes to 1928's Banana Massacre. A massacre ensues on the American plantation as the Colombian army ruthlessly kills many workers. Since many story beats from the book serve as metaphors for real-life historical events, it is not surprising that this, too, is based on real history. The tragic incident serves as an allusion to the Banana Massacre of 1928, in which many workers of the United Fruit Company were killed near Colombia's Santa Marta. Jose Arcadio Segundo and the townspeople, who end up surviving the massacre, either refuse to believe it ever happened or end up being in denial about the tragedy. Only a few Buendias remain in Macondo. Even the remaining family members gradually meet a tragic fate. Diego Vasquez as adult Jose Arcadio Buendia in 100 Years of Solitude. Macondo's population dwindles, with only a few members of the Buendia family remaining, as the once thriving town faces its inevitable decline. Amaranta Ursula and her nephew Aureliano are the only two surviving members of the family in the town. Unknowingly, the two end up starting an incestuous relationship, which leads to the birth of a child that has a pig's tail. While Amaranta Ursula faces her doom after dying during childbirth, the child meets a similar fate after getting devoured by ants. With this, Aureliano remains the last member of the Buendia family in the decrepit town. Aureliano decodes an encryption from Melquid's manuscript. The manuscript prophesied the family's misfortune and eventual end. Melquid's left a manuscript several generations before Aureliano was born. Upon finding the manuscript, Aureliano tries to decode the encryption on it, which leads to a surprising revelation. It contains information on all the tragic events that marred the Buendia family's journey over the years. While a windstorm gradually rises around Aureliano, he reads that his family was always destined to be trapped in an unbreakable cycle of repetition and eventually be wiped out of existence. Just as Aureliano reads the final sentence in the manuscript, the town of Macondo gets destroyed by the full force of a windstorm, completely erasing it from the planet. With this, 100 Years of Solitude's ending arc reinstates its themes of the inevitability of one's fate and the repetitive cycles of history. Given how Netflix's adaptation of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's multi-generational story takes several creative liberties in Season 1, 100 Years of Solitude Season 2 will also likely introduce some changes to the source material.